Welcome everyone this evening to Triumphant Tuesdays. My name is Wendy Whitmore. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and life coach. I have a private practice in Southern California. And to give you a little bit of background about myself, I have been doing therapy, so to speak, for about 10 years. I have a wide variety of experience, group homes, hospital settings, but my passion is private practice, and I love working with women, couples, families, and adolescents. If you're looking to learn a little bit more about me, you can always look me up at wendywhitmore.com. And I am so glad that everyone decided to take some time out of their evening to come together and celebrate one another, encourage one another, and support one another. So without further ado, I will turn it over to my partner, Carla. Ms. Carla, take it away.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm really excited about tonight. I want to thank you, AJ, for sharing. I know we spoke a couple of times since last week, and I am so grateful that you're on the call tonight. And Beverly, we had some correspondence earlier today via Facebook, and I'm so glad that you dialed in as well. I'm excited for you to join us tonight and for both of you to see, what we have going on with this call, because it's really inspiring, uplifting, and encouraging, which is what we intend. And a little about myself. My name is Carla Nicole Williams. I am a life coach, and I focus on healing your inner child. I help women have a healthier, more positive self-image, elevate their self-worth, and overcome the fears that keep them stuck. Personally, I believe that our fears or our limitations or any of those self-sabotaging habits that we have are from childhood wounds. And it's important to pinpoint and heal these wounds before you can start creating the life that you want. And I know our guest speaker tonight knows all too well how the scars of childhood can follow you into adulthood. So please allow me to introduce Agje Egndayo, who goes by AJ. And I spoke with AJ.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. I practiced.
I'm going to pronounce it wrong. I just know
it. No, I get it. Thanks. So we spoke last week, and AJ was very open with me and sharing her story. And by the time AJ was 30, doctors diagnosed her with major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, anxiety disorder, and ADHD. And AJ was sharing with me that as a child, she always knew that something was wrong with her, but she couldn't exactly put her finger on it. How kids at school called her crazy, and even at home, it wasn't a safe haven for her because her family members, teased her and didn't know or understand what was going on or care to. And so, AJ, I want to bring you in and ask you, as a child, you said you knew something was wrong. How did you know? What was going on with you that you knew, I'm different from everybody else?
Well, I was always a frustrated child. I was always angry. You have to remember, my mother is from Trinidad, so it was a very gender-biased household. If any West Indians, whether it's Trinidadians or Jamaicans, Guyana is very male-dominated, and my father wasn't around. So, we grew up just like a lot of other foreigners. They came over from Trinidad all on the boat at the same time. Everyone lives in the same house until one by one they get their green card. So I was in the house as the youngest child, full of uncles and cousins and so many other people, but what my mother said went, and it just ruled the roost, and I was always angry. I was a very agitated child. I felt like I wasn't getting enough attention. She was really strict. We got spankings for every little thing. There was sexual abuse going on with so many people, with so many men in the house, and, my sisters, compared to me, they're really passive. They were mama's girls. I was always the rebellious one. I didn't want to sweep things under the rug. I didn't want to be quiet. I wanted to tell, but they were, she was in fear of getting reported. So initially, I just knew I was upset all the time. But the last thing any of us were thinking was, hey, this could possibly be some mental illness, because naturally we associate, just as human beings, mental with crazy or deranged or psychotic or something like that. We forget, like you said, childhood wounds, unresolved issues in everyday life that causes this thing to bud. So it just got progressively worse as I had gotten older, and then I really started to see when I moved out the house on my own how different I was from my peers. I had the crying spells. I was always nervous. I was always shaky. I still have speech impediment. Back then it was worse. I had trouble sleeping. You name it. Everything on every list of symptoms, I had it. I just did not know that it was this bad, and I didn't know it was a mental illness. I thought I was just pissed off.
Right. So just a lot of anger, and I know you were saying that your family or your mom just thought, that you were seeking attention, and I know that may have been part of it, but that wasn't what it was. It was way deeper than what you had expected. And I know you said that later you understood that those were to be manic episodes. Can you just briefly tell our listeners what a manic episode? Because I think a lot of people, they have a mental illness or dealing with it, but they have no clue what it is. They're still just thinking that kids are attention seeking, or if it is an adult, they may not know. They think that I'm angry and frustrated all the time. My life's not going right. Everything is falling down around me, but not knowing that is that deeper than that. So could you explain what a manic episode is?
Well, bipolar disorder for years had been called manic depression. 1 minute you're depressed and your moods are sullen and you're down, and then the next minute you're manic, you're hyper, you're frenzied, and you're hyper, in spells and sometimes over a long period of time to where you can't calm down. So when you're having an episode, you're hypermanic, where you're in that frenzied state and you have all of this energy and your moods are fluctuating. And when it's that bad, I like to say I'm wrapped around a ceiling fan. I'm not able to sleep. I'm not able to rest. I'm really, really agitated. I have these outbursts. My thoughts are constantly racing. My speech has gone a mile, in a minute, and heart's racing. So when you're manic, you have all of these extreme moves, and those were the episodes I was having. Again, my mom just thought it was bad behavior, and I was later diagnosed with PTSD. And that's when I started to look at things in terms of symptoms, not just the behaviors themselves, but medically things that were going on. And that's what I kept saying after starting therapy. So that's what those episodes were: the rage, the crying, the pounding my fist, the bedwetting. But that also came from the incest. And I wet the bed till I was almost 13. I didn't know that was part of an anxiety issue. A lot of times I would flinch very easily. I still do. A hallmark symptom of PTSD, exaggerated startle response. I startled very easily. Who knew that was PTSD? I didn't know that me wanting to be in bed sleeping all the time was a sign of me being depressed. Once you start pulling different situations that's going on in your life apart, and you can match it symptom by symptom, then a light bulb should go off and say, hey, maybe this is something deeper than what it appears to be. It's not just seeking attention. It's not just anger. It's not just this and that. So when I have those episodes, there's a lot of emotional turmoil going on.
Yes. Wendy, would you like to add something before I move on?
AJ, I am so glad that you are on this call. I'm so glad that you are being completely transparent. You are bearing your soul. You are sharing your journey, because a lot of times there is a stigma with admitting that there is mental illness in your family or in your home or even within yourself. And I just applaud you for coming on and just being honest and sharing your story, because, as a therapist, a lot of times, people are reluctant to come into therapy, or when they tell someone that they're, going to therapy or seeing they're labeled as crazy. And you know what I tell my clients? I say, well, we all a little cray-cray. We all got a little bit of crazy in us. And it's for us to be able to recognize when it's non-manageable. When we are not able to kind of keep things, in order, then it's nothing wrong with what I call going to get a mental tune-up and seeing someone that can help you get things in order a little better and can put a positive spin on what you're going through. And so, I just want to thank you. So, Carla, keep on going. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I know we talked about you being brave, and you were like, people tell me I'm being brave, and I just don't see it. But it really is brave, like Wendy was just saying, the stigma that's attached to it, and we'll get to that a little later. But you were sharing with me how sometimes you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, and you're running to keep up with yourself, and then on other days you're moving in slow motion, drifting between side effects. I mean, you don't know, you kind of know your triggers, but you shared that you wish you knew them a little more. So, sometimes you just don't know what's going to trigger you, but you got to get up every single day like everybody else, and you go through your days. And I want to ask you, when you are feeling like you're on that hamster wheel or you're moving in slow motion, sinking in quicksand, how do you get through those days?
Well, during those moments, I try to tire myself out. That's why I said my new best friend / enemy is going to the gym. If I walk, it is probably about 40 minutes from my house. And sometimes I can get there, exercise, and walk back, and I'm still not tired. That's what I mean about you're just on this high. But I try to do something to keep myself productive because you know what they say about an idle mind. And tire myself out in some way or find something to get into. I have a bad habit of binging, not to the point of vomiting. I'm not bulimic, but my hands are just going a mile a minute, and I'll go in and, eat everything in the fridge and then get mad at myself afterwards. It's certain impulse control issues that I have that I'm still not able to get a hold, really get a grip on and control like I wish I could. But to answer the question, I try to stay busy. If I'm not writing, if I don't go for a walk or something, get out of this house because I don't work, I try to find something to keep my hands busy. It might sound small, and this is not always, doesn't always work. That's the thing. I could share a testimony all day, but I want to be 100% real with people and letting them know I am not 100% well. And I'm always fighting, just to improve my health on a daily basis. It's a new journey every day.
I agree with that. I would like to ask, a semi-personal question. Now that you know what's going on with you, you've been diagnosed, you're in therapy, you're on medications, are you more compassionate with yourself now?
It depends, because I'm a perfectionist. For example, I just finished my memoir and actually put it on the Create Space e-store today. And I know, especially with a book this size, it's a volume of over 500 pages. A couple of colleagues, when I say colleagues, I mean my therapist who kind of gave their 2 cents about it as well. A couple of friends, my editor, they keep telling me, it's not going to be perfect. There will be a typo in there. There will be maybe a period where there should be a comma. There's this, there's that, and I'll expect so much of myself, and the slightest thing could be off or just kind of deviate from plans, and then I'm just in a funk. I beat up on myself so much, and I try not to, but there are some things that's a force of habit, and it doesn't go away in its own. It doesn't go away overnight. So it's something that I'm constantly working on. It changes so much with me. Even now, I'm still going through medication changes and different goals in therapy, for example. So I just take it day by day.
You know what?
AJ, can I? Oh, sorry, Carla.
No, go ahead, Wendy. Go ahead.
Ms. AJ, can I ask you a question? So I'm sitting here and I'm listening, and I am thinking, what a magnificent woman you are. And I say that because not only are you being transparent, not only are you sharing your journey, not only are you, bearing your soul, but you are also admitting that you're a work in progress. And I think that sometimes people might be misled when we say, we're doing Triumphant Tuesdays, where we are, talking about how we triumphed in spite of whatever it is that you're going through or you have gone through. And I think that some get that triumphing is a continual process, and that we have to be happy, grateful, thankful, and embrace the process so that we can acknowledge our own progress. And so I love that you said that, it's something that you're working at. If one medication doesn't work, you go back and say, hey, this isn't working. If, one form of treatment or therapy isn't working, you go back and say, hey, I need something different. You're coming up with different, coping skills. I love it.
Yeah, it's tiresome, and it's like the person who is diagnosed with anything, whether it's cancer or scoliosis or HIV or anything. You get sick and blank tired of going back to the doctor saying, this didn't work, what do you have? This didn't work, what do you have? I need a second opinion. Hey, this made me sick, but it cured the one thing. It's amazing how these drugs are fraught with side effects. Won't get into a whole spiel, but for anyone that's listening, the chemical imbalance theory is just that. It is a lie. It is a lie. It is a lie. But they're fraught with so many side effects. And, for example, I have epilepsy. Well, they gave me gabapentin for pain, but a side effect is seizures. And there are so many that are like that. They have these adverse reactions, and just trying to get well makes you sicker some days. And then in order to get well, sometimes you have to go off meds. And I said that in the book. You try one thing and it doesn't work, and it discourages you from trying anything else. So that's what I mean when I say it's constant with me, and it's not uncommon for the mentally ill. And one of my blurbs, I believe it's on the website as well, what do you get when you mix 10 doctors, 13 prescriptions, and 6 psych ward sticks? Second-generation mental illness, and that's what you have with my life.
Wow, AJ. Wow.
Yeah, it's like you get speechless. It's like, wow, because you're staying the course. And a lot of people don't, and I understand. I understand why a lot of people don't. Because I have a sister who's bipolar. She's schizophrenic, and is one more, I think, is anxiety as well. But she'll go off her meds, And I used to be like, why would you go off your meds? You know what I'm saying? At questioning that, why would you go off your meds if it's making you better? It's supposed to make you better. But I don't deal with what she deals with. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, and I don't really understand all of it. And that's why this conversation we're having tonight is so relevant and so important, because awareness is the key to me to everything. Compassion, love, non-judgment. And that's basic. That's what you need. That's what we all need. But when you're dealing with something of this caliber, and for a person who isn't dealing with it, sometimes you just don't understand. And that's okay to not understand everything, but it's not okay to be judging, those things.
I think people don't know what to say because, again, you hear the word mental and you think crazy. We're not really associating your emotional health with just everyday stress, everyday life, and the mild, moderate, and severe that this thing can be. So I always like to do either demonstrations of some sort or role play and getting people to just open up a little bit, put themselves in the shoes of someone who is supposed to be a shoulder for another person. And I always tell them you could just start by saying, I really don't understand, I'll be honest, but I will listen, and I won't say anything until you're done. And then, try to repeat back to that person what you believe it is they're trying to say and ask them, did I get it right? I may not get it. Let's see what we can do together. just placing a phone call is inexpensive and don't require a copay. So there are lots of 800 numbers out there. There's a lot of anonymous information online that you can cross-reference. You can give some of these 800 numbers your zip code or your area code, and they'll tell you what resources there are in your community, what's based on income. People may not know, something that small and that significant, someone may not. So it's good to have a listening ear and an accountability partner who, amongst the sea of people that don't take you seriously, will actually take that time out to listen and say, hey, I don't get it, but I'm here to listen. I want to see you better.
Yes, I think that's great advice that you're giving us and listeners as well. And it was actually the next question I was going to ask you. But when we talked about it before, I just wanted to reiterate something you told me. As far as people who, possible supporters, people who have family members with mental illnesses or in the community or just whatever. And you said that know that mental illnesses are valid medical problems that require medical attention. They do not simply go away on its own in time. And I wanted to, because I want to talk about your book too, but I wanted to just put that out there, for people who are listening and people who are going to listen later, because you also said there are no quick fixes and tough love does more harm than good. And I agree with that, because sometimes it is a community thing, and I know in the African American community there is a stigma, as far as mental illness is concerned. And also we think a lot of people think that, tough love is the answer, when you're like, no, it's not. It's archaic and, it doesn't work, never had worked. But people just get stuck in their ways, and, it keeps us stuck as a community, and instead of, growing and accepting that, this is in every family. It's in every family, and we need to deal with it in a better way. And is there anything else you would like to add before I move on to sharing about your book?
I just want to say real quickly, and I'm glad you brought up the whole idea about quick fixes. Now, I know you're going to talk to grandma, auntie, and they're going to tell you, just pray about it, baby, and it'll go away. That's a huge, huge problem in our culture. Clergymen and women, whether it's pastors, imams, rabbis, whomever, they are not substitutes for medical care. And I'm, careful about that one, because I don't want to come across as telling people their religion is wrong, and that's how it's often interpreted. And that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying as a supplement to whatever you believe, whether that's prayer, meditation, what have you, you should consult a clinician. No one tells you if you have any other disease on the planet, well, you don't need to go and get your meds. You don't need to go to the doctor. Just deal with it on your own, and it'll go away. But for some reason, when it comes to mental illness, it's easy just to say, well, all you have to do is just pray about it, give it to the good Lord, or, it'll go away in its own time. There are no quick fixes. These things are embedded in a lot of external factors, a lot of unresolved issues, a lot of pain unspoken, and that just doesn't go away on its own. There are no quick fixes. It requires a comprehensive approach with a lot of different therapies. So support is huge, but you also need medical treatment as well.
Thank you for reiterating that. I agree 100%. I'm sure Wendy does as well, being a licensed therapist. We love you, AJ. We love you. You appreciate it.
AJ, I'm over here like doing the happy dance. I'm clapping.
Yes.
With my phone on mute, because you said the magic words.
Yes.
A lot of times I have been fighting to offer free workshops, free programs, just some or very low-cost services in the churches in my own community, and I get shut out. I've even had a minister say to me that, if I come on and start offering workshops or things of the sort, or, offering low low-cost services, that what are the people going to pray for? And I said, oh, honey, I'm so sorry that you don't see that it's bigger than that. It's prayer, and it's what you can do for yourself, because like you said, AJ, no one would tell somebody with cancer or pneumonia to just go home and pray about it. They would say, seek medical attention. And with mental illness, there's so many times that, we're told to just pray about it, or a lot of times, I speak to my mother, and she's 93, and she said, back then they would just say, oh, you just had a bad spirit on you, or something like that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so many things could have been accomplished so long ago, and this generational mental illnesses could have been helped. It could have been helped.
And poor generational teaching.
Oh, wow.
Poor generational teaching. I like to call it.
Well, AJ, I like you.
Self-sabotage. I do, because we get it from our moms, and they get it from their moms, and they get it from their grandmas. We take on too much as women, and then we have, especially in our culture, this idea that if you take any time for yourself, then that's being selfish. If you show any kind of emotions, or if you cry or anything like that, then that's weakness. I was watching an episode of Ayanla Fix My Life, quick story, and the woman in Ayanla was about the same age. She was about 60, and she was telling her it's okay to let it go. She showed her a mirror and said, who is this woman? And she said, well, this woman doesn't know how to be loved, and I'm okay with that. And of course Ayanla said, no, you're not okay with that. You do matter. So sometimes you just got to let it out. No, sadness is weakness. I said, bingo. That is the problem in our community right there. That's the death knell. So we take on too much. We develop all of these layers. We hold and harbor pain, and then we show that example to our kids. We have those communication barriers. Then they grow up angry and pissed off, holding everything inside out physically, whether it's on themselves or their children or in the community. And there we have this problem with rage. This is what I'm talking about. It has to start somewhere. You just don't wake up like this.
You know what? If your book is anything as convicting as your speaking, then I know it's going to do a lot. It's going to do a lot for our generation, and I'm excited. And I just love talking to you when you're talking, the passion in your voice and the conviction. I can just close my eyes. It's like you're speaking to my soul. But I'm going to talk about your book. It's called Hindsight is 2020, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little about it. I think did you have a subtitle as well?
It's the book is a brain teaser, and its whole long title, How an African American Girl Grows Up Mentally Ill and is Dead Last to Find Out. My last name is Ekundayo, K-U-N-D-A-Y-O. It's on the e-store on CreateSpace.com right now. CreateSpace, where I self-published, is owned by Amazon, so it'll be on the Amazon site directly on Monday. But right now you can order on the CreateSpace e-store. Ekundayo is actually a Yoruba word, and it means sorrow becomes joy. And I gave that name to myself, went to the courthouse and changed it because I said, you know what, after 30, things have got to be different. They've got to be different. So I just wrote about my experiences growing up, and I say again, second generational mental illness, because I figured it out, and they're still in denial. If you can go back to psychiatry's favorite movie on earth, remember Sally Field when she played Sybil. What they used to call multiple personality was pretty new back then. But if you remember from the movie and the book, Sybil's mom had schizophrenia. This is what I mean about it past them. My mother had all kinds of anger issues and mood disorders. Today, I can try to explain it to her, and she will still say none of it applies to her. So I just kind of go back into childhood just a little bit, but mainly the book is from 2010 to 2013. All the inadequate and substandard care that I received at different hospitals and outpatient clinics here in North Carolina, along with a lot of the family history and the delayed adolescence that I came to understand when I was in college. I was very naive, even for a 19-year-old. I was extremely naive and emotional. And I wrap all of that up in a book and a few stories about my ex-boyfriend. He just won't listen, y'all. He won't. I'm serious. I told the brother to balance himself on a manhole cover and cement mix. That still didn't make him go away. I said, see, this is why they invented liquor, the white kind, not the brown. He still won't go away. So, I put all of that in a memoir, and hindsight is what I came up with. But I do a pretty good explanation of what these illnesses are and are not, and I tackle some of the cultural complexities that we have in the African American community as well. So it's a little bit of everything, and I think every person from a lot of different angles will get something out of hindsight.
I agree. Thank you so much for sharing your story today. I'm really excited about your book. I'm going to look it up on Monday. You said on Create Space, right?
Yes, it's on Create Space now. It'll be on Amazon Monday.
Yes, great. And I'm glad that you shared. I'm just glad that you came on tonight. I'm excited. I wholeheartedly support you. We're going to blast this call and put it on our group. And I know that I want to keep in touch and just see, how things progress with you on your journey. And we went a little over tonight, so we will close it out. And I just want to thank you again, AJ. Thank you so much. This was it was informative, and you raised awareness, and then you're funny, so it was all good.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to see, and I put this on my page today, a circle of women. This is what's needed, coming together, sharing information, learning of one another, because, we're all still open to learning and growing and improving ourselves as women. So I was really excited about this call. And I don't know who else is on the line besides Ms. Beverly, but I'm glad that we're all on here. And hopefully people have gotten something out of this and not afraid to discuss mental health anymore.
Yes. Well, I definitely have gotten something out of it. And because I got it right, I will end this with, again, saying thank you, Agje Ekendayo, and we will be keeping in touch.
Yes, please do.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you again.
Thank you for joining.
Bye. Wellness wishes. Wellness wishes. Wellness wishes. Wellness wishes.